It is 7:38 on Jersey Central on the new Talk Radio WCTC, the voice of Central Jersey. It is Bert, Barron. We do have a contest coming up for you a little bit later on in the show today. Next chance to perhaps win a pair of tickets to see Inner Voices. It is now playing at the TBG Theater in New York City. Very limited engagement, in fact, just for the rest of October. So you're going to have a chance to pick up a pair of tickets to see a show that's only going to be out there for another couple of weeks. Tickets have been tough to come by, I understand, for this show, so we're real glad to be able to offer them to you, and I will give you a chance to win them coming up a little bit later on in the show today. Well, joining me now on the Raritan Bay Medical Center Jersey Newsmaker Hotline, I want to welcome in a former NFL trainer, also an author and a bullying expert, to talk about what's going on in the inner workings of the sports locker rooms in the professional, amateur, high school levels around the country. So let's welcome Carl Romain to Jersey Central this morning. Hello, Carl. It's Bert Barron. Welcome to WCTC. How are you?
Very good. Thank you. Hello, and I'm excited to be on your show.
Well, good to have you here. You're a former NFL trainer, so I'm guessing you've seen a little bit of everything. I'm sure the best and worst of human behavior in an NFL locker room, I'm guessing.
Actually, I used to work with the Giants, and they were extremely professional.
Of course they are. Of course, the Giants would never do anything bad, of course. But I'm sure that there's like a mentality. There's a locker room. Are there obviously lots of rules and unwritten rules about conducting yourself in a sports locker room?
Yes, absolutely there are. And, I've been an athlete my whole life, so I've been around sports, and there's a lot of antics. There's usually some kind of initiation that goes on. But usually it's a one-time thing. It's nothing really serious and nothing to the degree that we're looking at with this recent incident.
I'm guessing, some good-natured things. Maybe you take a freshman or you take the new person on the team and you give them all the wet towels to carry to the washroom or whatever. Something along those lines of that where no one's, assaulted or physically injured, I'm guessing.
Correct. Nothing where you're going to assault or injure anybody. Just basically guy stuff, just joking around.
And at the end of the day, it's kind of like you move on. Everybody expects a hazing ritual of some degree. I'm sure sports at every level you have something, but you take it as being part of the deal. And at the end of the day, you're friends and teammates and you move on. But what happened at Sayreville, Carl, is off the charts. This has to be unlike anything I'm sure you've ever heard about either.
It's like anything I've ever heard about or anything I've ever seen. I'm in shock that it even happened. This is not typical hazing. This goes far beyond hazing. This is really. It's hard to believe that these boys came up with this and just decided that they would do the stuff that allegedly happened.
See, that's what I find to be very disturbing too. Is like, whose idea was this, and where did it come from? I mean, what are kids today being exposed to that would even think that even they could not only do this but get away with it? I don't know how the seed got planted for this.
Well, this is my concern. When I look at this story, there are many victims here. Obviously the kids that had this done to them, but the other kids that actually committed the crime. The question is, what happened to them? Is this something that was done to them, and they decided, well, this was going to be the rite of passage, that this is what we're going to do to the other players? Where were the coaches? Where were the staff? How come nobody reported this earlier? Were there people watching that just decided, well, I'm not going to say anything because I don't want anything to happen to me? I think that we have to look at the greater issue here, and it's something that I think all teams need to really evaluate what's really going on in their locker rooms at this point.
Yeah, and I'm glad, Carl, that you used the word crime, because I have been calling this a crime since day one. Once we got the details about a week or so ago as far as what is alleged to have taken place in that locker room, these were criminal acts. And even on our website, we have a poll about how do you deal with these? Is it jail? Is it juvenile detention centers? What do you think is an appropriate punishment, Carl, if in fact these allegations are true?
If the allegations are true, I think you have to send a strong message. You have to deter this type of behavior. You cannot allow this type of behavior to continue on any level, whether amateur, professional, on anywhere. Our kids need to feel like they're safe in school. As it is, if we just look at it as a bullying situation or extreme bullying situation, 160,000 kids miss school every single day because of bullying, and 3.2 million families are impacted by bullying. So you have to send a strong message. I know a lot of people were upset initially when they canceled the football season, but I don't think we all really knew the extent of the issues that we were talking about. And as the details come out, I think we could see why. I think the school did the right thing by canceling, and I think the punishment needs to fit the crime. But I do think the children involved on both sides do need help, counseling. Work with them. Don't just put them in a cell somewhere and allow other things to happen to them. You're not going to help them that way. I do believe they do need some kind of rehabilitation.
Yes, I agree. And when the word came out about the cancellation of the football season, I agreed with that as soon as I got word on that as being the correct course of action as well. Carl Romain is our guest, author, bullying expert, and a former NFL trainer here on Jersey Central. We're talking about the Sayreville High School football hazing allegations, and we've been following it here, obviously, very closely. Carl, talk about, if you could, the role that bullying plays in this. I mean, why I think this was able to go on for such a long time. Is it something as simple as, one of the older students saying, hey, you know what, if you rat us out, if you go to anybody about this, your sister's next. You don't want that, do you? Keep your mouth shut, kid. Is it something as simple as that?
Well, again, there's a code, amongst athletes, players, or in these types of situations where you have, the senior players, the leaders of the team. I don't know if the leaders of the teams were involved. I really, couldn't say that because they're not releasing some of that information yet. But you do have this idea that, not to talk, not to say anything. But when you see something that is so extreme, that goes so far beyond like typical hazing behavior, I think you have to say something. I don't think there's any innocent bystanders here. You can't stand by and watch somebody be so assaulted, is the only word that comes to mind when I think of what was actually done to these kids, and say nothing and do nothing. I think at some point you have to take a stand for what's right.
Yeah, I sort of put myself in the shoes, unfortunately, of the victims to think about, after an incident like this happened, just kind of going home saying, what the heck just happened to me? Did I just get raped? What exactly just took place in that locker room? And what do I do? Who do I tell? What's next? How do I get this to stop? I'm sure that's what was going through their minds the whole time.
And that's why I think it's so important that parents speak with your children constantly about what's really going on. Have an open-door policy. Allow your child to speak to you in a way where they understand that they're safe and that you'll do everything in your power to help them. And that's on both sides. Because, if there's a child that is intimidated, listen, it didn't happen to them, but they saw it. They were there. They were present. They saw what was going on, and they were too afraid to speak up in school. Maybe they could go to their parents and say, listen, I don't know how to handle this. Help me, because, we got to make sure this kind of behavior does not continue and this doesn't happen. The only way we can do that is to really encourage our kids, if they see something like this, to speak up. If they're too afraid to take an action to make it stop, at least speak up and speak to somebody. Yep.
That's always the right thing to do. You had mentioned, we have just a few moments left with us, Carl. You had mentioned you worked for the Giants. Was it during their Super Bowl years when you worked for them?
Yeah, that was back in the year 2000. I had a great group of guys. I had Amani Toomer, Howard Cross, Michael Strahan. So a really great group of guys.
Good for you. Did they win? That was the year they lost to the Ravens?
Yeah.
Well, you look how far you got them. Hey, you know what? Trent Dilfer should have gave them the Super Bowl that year. But
right.
Good to talk to you. Is there a Twitter, Facebook, a website where people can learn more about you and your author work and what else you do?
Sure, absolutely. I have my own website. It's Sifu, S-I-F-U, Romain, ROMAIN.com. I'm on Twitter at Sifu Romain. You can also find my book on Amazon, The Self-Confidence Factor, Parent's Guide to Bully Prevention.
Well, great stuff. I'm going to put a link up on our Facebook page where people can learn more about you. But it was great to talk to you. And
thank you.
Man, I know I've said it a million times, but it's like let the healing begin. Does a community ever heal, Carl, or is this just going to take a long time?
I think it's going to take a long time, but I think if everybody works together, there definitely can be some healing going on in the community. And we have to look at, the future of the football program there and what's going to happen and what kind of rules we need to impose to make sure this never occurs again.
And very much in question even as of today. Carl Romain, thank you for being my guest. Great to talk to you, and be well. You have a good day.